Good morning. A lack of workers, high housing costs, challenges with childcare. These are some of the significant obstacles to success for businesses in Connecticut. That's according to a just released survey produced by the Connecticut Business and Industry Association, or CBIA. That organization's president and CEO is DiPentima, who's here to talk about those findings and others. Welcome.
Great to be with you.
You've got the survey. Tell me how this comes together. I know this is something that you guys do, is sort of reach out to your members. So you poll them and ask them a bunch of questions and then put together this survey.
Yeah, every summer, just as summer starts, we send it out to, this year, just less than 3,000 businesses, CEOs, human resource executives, and we compile the results back, and it's about 50 questions, so it's pretty lengthy and goes through a variety of how's the legislator doing, how's the economy, what are you thinking about for your businesses, are you going to turn a profit, what's going on with your workforce. So it really gives us a big picture of what's happening in the business community in Connecticut.
So if the idea is to reach out to the business community and take their temperature, how are we doing? Do we have a fever? Are we feeling pretty good? What's the temperature?
Yeah, this year we have a fever. I think the last 4 years before this, coming out of the pandemic, there was optimism in the business community. We saw economic growth. We saw job growth. Businesses were really profitable. There was less uncertainty, which was really good for the businesses. They want predictability, stability, and certainty. This year it's turned, I'll say, sideways, not necessarily down, but businesses are a little more skeptical than they have been since probably pre-pandemic. 9 out of 10 businesses, their costs are increasing. Workforce continues to be a huge issue for businesses. 76% of businesses say workforce is their top issue, retaining and attracting talent.
And let's talk about that since you brought it up. So part of it is having the skilled people to fill jobs, because it's not necessarily that there's an issue with jobs. It's that there are positions and you need butts in the seats.
Absolutely. There's 77,000 job openings right now in Connecticut. We've been bumping somewhere between 70 and 110,000 job openings for the last 3-4 years. So the job openings are there. And some people think, well, they're just high-end job openings that we can't fill because you got a skills gap. More than 50% of the job openings only require a high school degree or less, GED equivalent. Entry-level jobs in all industry sectors, healthcare, manufacturing, bioscience, tech. So it's across all industries, it's across the vertical in the job. We can't fill the jobs because we just don't have a growing population, especially on the workforce side. Our labor force is actually contracted, and that's a real big issue.
So if it's a contraction of the labor force versus getting the people skilled, I mean, what's the response to that? Obviously, if you're worried about the labor force contracting, that's a whole different discussion than getting some young people skills to fill the jobs.
Yeah, and the response is, based on the business survey, is they're recommending lowering the cost of living in Connecticut. Now, a lot of times businesses talk about lowering the cost of doing business in Connecticut, but the businesses are really calling out, we need to lower the cost of living to keep more people in the state, not only our high school and college graduates, but even working age folks, and also attract people to Connecticut. When they talk about lowering the cost of living, things that come up are energy, healthcare, childcare, taxes. You know, those are the big ones that the business community is saying, hey, legislator, hey, policymakers, anyone who can, you need to lower the cost of living in Connecticut. This isn't a national issue, this is a state issue.
On that issue of lower costs, one thing is healthcare that a lot of your folks express concerns about. So is that something where you can say to the state representatives and senators, even the governor, here's something specific we want you to do? Yeah,
that one came out. More than 20% of businesses said lowering the cost of healthcare should be the top priority for the General Assembly and the governor. And that's one that the governor and the General Assembly could do something about very quickly at no cost to the state. In fact, it would probably generate revenue to the state. Specifically, the last couple of years, there's been discussion around association health plans. So allowing associations, the Brewers Guild, the Chamber of Commerce, whoever, to pool their members together to look like one big organization and reduce the cost of their health care for them and their employees. The legislators punted on that the last couple of years. There's some people who are really big fans of government-run health insurance and public option, and that's really politics above policy have gotten in the way of getting that passed. Many blue states have passed association health plans. It's something Connecticut needs to step up on. Again, something in the state's control that they can do to reduce the cost for business.
Because a lot of the people who responded to this are small business people.
Majority are small businesses, yeah, absolutely. Less than 100 employees, less than 50 employees.
And so for that population, maybe for our viewers who aren't in your position or aren't the CEO or the boss of one of those businesses, if you have 25 employees or 15 employees, running a company health plan yourself can be a daunting task.
It's huge. It's probably the second or third largest expense in the company besides wages, right up there with maybe energy costs. And the costs continue to go up each year, not like 2% or 5%, but 15, 20, 25, 30%. We have less carriers in Connecticut. More and more have left the state and stopped offering health insurance in Connecticut. So we have to come up with real creative solutions. And again, there's ones that are out there nationally pulling businesses together to look like a big company to keep those costs down.
Last time you were on, we were talking less about what's happening in Connecticut and more about what's happening in Washington and tariffs and trade issues and things like that. Does that factor into this at all? Is there also some concern, because you were saying last time it wasn't that they were pro-Trump or pro-Connecticut or pro-somewhere else. It was more just uncertainty was the issue. Is that still an ongoing concern?
That's still there, yeah. And that skepticism, at first we thought there was going to be a real lot of skepticism because of the national picture, right? What's happening with the tax bill, the big beautiful bill, what's happening with tariffs, what's happening with government fund programs. And we thought that was really going to resonate in the survey response. It's there, but it's more at the fringes. Really, the business community in Connecticut came out to talk about what the state can do, what's in Connecticut's control, which was really interesting because we thought there was going to be a lot of recommendations on what should be done at the federal level, and not many of us have control over that. But it's there. That uncertainty is certainly clouding the picture, but the real pain the businesses are feeling is within the state's control.
There is information there. You asked the businesses if they turned a profit or if they had losses. Were you concerned about any of that data as it came in? Because I think, we see job numbers and things like that, but these people who actually took the time to fill out your survey were telling you, did we have a good year on the books?
Yeah, absolutely. The businesses are talking about how they did. More businesses turned a profit than did not, which is good to see. It's declining over the last couple of years, so it's definitely getting tougher as costs rise. The businesses are getting that pressure. Either do I pass it on to my customer and maybe not be the choice for them, or do I have to eat those costs and therefore my profit erodes? This coming year, businesses are projecting, less businesses are projecting that they'll turn a profit than last year. So costs are clearly coming into play.
All right, so as we get ready to talk, as you get ready to talk to the legislature and say, here's my wish list, kind of tick it off for us. As you look at what your members want and from the business community, you mentioned health plans, association health plans. What else will you be asking for?
Energy is number 2 right behind that. I mean, again, in our control, not every state is the second highest cost energy state in the country. Something the state can do about it. Certainly supply is a little bit out of our control. The interesting thing here is the businesses aren't necessarily looking for an overnight change to energy costs. They want to know what's the state's longer term plan. What's the state's going to do over the next 5 or 10 years to reduce the cost of energy. They just want to see that plan so they can believe in it and therefore make more investments in their businesses, grow their business confidently in Connecticut. Right now, coming out of the survey, many businesses are like, I just don't know what the state's plan is to reduce the cost of energy.
So again, it comes back to uncertainty and having some knowledge. We only have a little less than a minute left, but if you had a surprise in here, was there anything, you look at this every year, anything where you said, geez, I'm really surprised about that?
Child care has been talked about a lot. The fact that 60% of the respondents said child care is a major issue for retaining and attracting talent, that was pretty high. In prior surveys, it's been like 10% or 12%. That jumped right up. As you know, it was a topic of this past session. There was big investment in child care, but there needs to be a lot more done around expanding access to affordable quality child care.
All right, DiPentima from CBIA, thanks for being with us and sharing all that info, and I'm sure you can go to the website and check it all out if you want yourself.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, Chris, thank you.